Hi, I'm John and welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to do something I've never done before. I am going to do a watch review, and I may never do another one again in the future. Today we're going to talk about the S.A.R rescue timer from Mühle Glashütte. Now you may be looking at this one, you may want to purchase it, or you may be sitting on the fence. I understand exactly where you're coming from because this is an unusual watch. It's one of a kind. And up until a month ago, I felt the same way as you feel right now, and then I purchased it and I've had it on my wrist for a whole month. Now, before I get to that and how I got to the S.A.R rescue timer, if you'll allow me, my personal watch journey has been going on for 60 years. I turned 60 in 2025 in a couple of months. I've been wearing watches my whole life, but it was only a couple of years ago I got interested in watches, their history, and watch collecting. I'm down the rabbit hole now. I started reading about watches, watching a lot of videos as well. And then I started looking for a couple of watches. And I found a guy online who was selling 3 watches, 2 Seiko Kinetics and this. Now, what struck me about this watch? It's a field watch, I found out later. It's the simplicity of this watch. It's not really blingy, not a lot of flash, and it's legible. You look at it and you can read it. This is an unknown company pretty much, Mallard, made in Kansas City, Missouri. They don't even make them anymore, but it's a nice little field watch. But I found out that this is part of a group of other watches called tool watches, which, you know, are dive watches, field watches, pilot watches as well. And then I saw this one online and I thought, what the heck is that? I saw the S.A.R rescue timer and I thought, I want this watch. A little more expensive than I've ever paid for a watch in my life, but this really caught my eye. It grabbed me and I focused in on this. But the problem was I didn't have an authorized dealer anywhere near Calgary. I couldn't find one to try it on. And I thought if I spend $2,000 to $3,000 on a watch and I don't like it when I get it, I'm really going to be upset about that. So what I did was I put it on my phone on the wallpaper. I looked at it every day for almost a year to see if I'd get sick of it. I didn't. I liked it even more. So I purchased it. So now let's take a close look at the S.A.R rescue timer from Mühle Glashütte. So here's a close-up look at the watch, at least as close as I can get. I do not have a macro camera, so I can't, zoom in on the hands on this watch. I can't make the watch spin around like you see so many people do online, but I do have some photos, which I'm going to intersperse with my discussion about the watch. I'll do my very best to show you what I've got here. Now, as far as the size goes, it's 42 millimeters across. The lug-to-lug on this is about 47.6 from the tip here to the middle of this hooded lug at the bottom, and it's 13.5 millimeters thick, stainless steel. A couple of things that really stand out about this watch are those hooded lugs for sure, the bracelet, which I'll get to in just a moment. You've also got this rubber bezel on here. Now, people have talked about this rubber bezel, but haven't really described it. It's not hard rubber, but it's not really soft. It's kind of in between, and this is meant to take the brunt of any contact it may have when it's being used for search and rescue. It's used by the German Maritime Search and Rescue Society in the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. So this will get damaged over time, but your watch won't, and that can be replaced. It also has not a Cyclops, but it has a magnifier at 4 o'clock, and perhaps you can see it there. Now, a lot of people don't like the Cyclops. I do like the Cyclops, but this one is unique because it's a 4 millimeter thick sapphire crystal, and the magnifier is actually ground into the crystal underneath. Now, I'm not sure if it's a 1.5 magnification or a 2 magnification, but I can tell you I have terrible eyesight, and unless the date is really large on a watch, I can't read it. I can read this one, and it makes me very happy when I look at it. As a matter of fact, when you look at the watch from the side at times, you think it's a drop of water on top of the crystal. You almost feel like you're going to want to wipe it away because it is really unique. Now, as far as the crown goes, a really substantial size crown on here, good to grab onto. It's got some crown guards on there, and as you can see, it kind of recesses into the side of the case as well, so it's protected. The back is solid, as you can imagine, on this watch, and if you can read it on the dial there, the reason this really struck me as a cool watch as well because it has 1,000 meters of water resistance. Now, you may say there are other watches that have 1,000 meters of water resistance, but they're dive watches. This is not a dive watch, but it is meant for extreme situations. In fact, I read on the Mühle Glashütte website, they tested this to 2,500 meters. That's when the caseback caved in. The crystal didn't go. The caseback caved in at 2,500 meters. So it is a really, really tough watch. It's all satin finished, very, very soft. Again, those hooded lugs really stand out. And if you can see on the side there, they're put on with screws. Now, I like the fact that it screws. Again, it's going to be very tough, so you're not going to have any issues with losing the bracelet or the strap you put on this, but it's hard to make a change. I actually had to take it to a jeweler to have the bracelet put on because I bought it with the rubber strap, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. I don't have the proper tool to take out those screws. I was really frightened about stripping them. I'm going to get a tool so I can do it in the future, so I can strip it out for the rubber strap, but it is screwed on there as well, and it is really tough. It's made so that it's not going to catch on anything. It's soft. There's no really sharp edges on this watch. It really is striking. It has good lume on it. It's not great lume, and here are some shots I took of the lume on it. It is good. I do have a Citizen dive watch that has better lume on it, and I have a full lume dial field watch that I purchased as well. That is better. It's good lume on here, but it's not that much of an issue with me. The great thing about this watch is that it is legible. It is so easy to read. You can read this thing across the room. Now, as far as the sizing goes on it, you're going to wonder, is this going to fit my wrist? Here's a shot of it on my wrist. I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist, and it fits me perfectly. Now, just for a little bit of perspective here, this is an Islander dive watch. Now, Mark at Long Island Watch created this watch to replace the Seiko SKX series watches. This is a 43, this is a 42, so you can get an idea of the size of the watch, but this one fits me just fine on a 6 3/4 inch wrist. I think you'd be fine if you were wearing this, the Mühle Glashütte, on a 6 1/2 inch wrist. Easy. As far as the thickness goes, it doesn't sit up very high. It actually sits really nice. And again, it's got 1,000 meters of water resistance. It needs a little bit more thickness to get to that depth. I'm going to pull back just a little bit now to show you the bracelets and the rubber strap on this, and then I'll wrap up this review of the Mühle Glashütte S.A.R Rescue Timer. So here is the watch with the bracelet, and it certainly is an interesting look. The links are H links, thicker on the outside than in the middle, and obviously the thing that stands out here is those rubber links down the middle, which are metal with rubber on the top, the same type of rubber that is on the bezel. Now, when it comes to this bracelet and this watch, those hooded lugs are going to limit you to what you can put on here. I'll show you the rubber strap in just a moment, which fits on here. And when I was online, I went to a review of this watch from Worn and Wound. They found this leather strap that fits on this watch quite nicely. So if you're interested in that look, by all means, you can pick that up. And again, strap changes are going to be difficult because you're going to need 2 screws to pull off the bracelet to replace it. I don't have a proper tool to do it. I was worried about stripping the screws, so I took it to a jeweler and had him do it. I'm going to buy the tool I need so that I can change it out in the future. So let me just change position a little bit here. I'll show you the links from the underside, and then I'll show you the clasp on this, and I'll show you the rubber strap as well. So here's a better look at the links itself. I was able to take 4 off the watch when I adjusted it, and it's got screws, so it's easy to adjust. H links, thicker on the outside than down the middle, and the same with those metal links in the middle that have rubber on the top of them. Again, same type of rubber as you find on the bezel, and on the back it's all flat. So it's a very, very comfortable bracelet to wear, and I just love the look of it. Let's take a look at this clasp. If there was one thing on the bracelet you might want to change, it is the clasp. Although, I think it's very true to form for the original watch when it was presented back in 2002. So I like that about it. Mühle Glashütte is etched on there. It does have 4 micro adjust, old style, not on the fly. And it is sort of a friction fit. Okay, snap it there, snap it there. It is a milled clasp, and it does have a diver's extension on it, which I really like. You'll find a lot of watches put a diver's extension. They're never ever going to see the water. But again, true to form for this watch, which is used for search and rescue on the North and Baltic Sea, if you're out on a ship, you're wearing some rain gear or a coat, you would want to use a diver's extension. So I like the fact that that's on there because it's sort of classic for this particular watch. Now let me show you the rubber strap that comes with it. Now I purchased this with the watch. I had to pay a premium to get the bracelet, which was kind of hard to find. I was able to find it through a guy down in Florida and was able to order one. It cost me a little bit more than it would have if I just purchased it on the watch in the first place. But this is a really nice rubber strap. Now you have to cut this to fit your wrist, which was quite easy to do, but this has a nicer clasp on it. Does not have any micro adjust at all. So once you cut it, that's the way it's going to be. But it is a pusher style, okay, and it does have this really satisfying diver's extension on here as well. It's a beautiful clasp, and again, it is signed with Mühle Glashütte on there as well. I wish this clasp was on the bracelet with some micro adjusts, and it would make it even nicer. But a very nice strap, which I'd like to put back on the watch. As a matter of fact, I always say if you're going to buy a watch, make sure you buy the bracelet, but I really enjoy this rubber strap on there, and I want to make sure that I use it on my watch in the future. Here's a look at the Caseback on the watch. Lots of information here in German, and I thought it'd be interesting to run this through Google Lens to get a translation on it. Nod to the search and rescue in Germany, other information about the watch itself, and for some reason it didn't translate wasserdicht, which means watertight or waterproof in German. Well, there you go, the S.A.R Rescue Timer from Mühle Glashütte. The perfect watch for me, and it might be the right one for you as well. I just love the way this watch looks. I love the way it feels. I love the fact that it's so unique and unusual. I love the fact that it's got a rubber bezel, 1,000 meters of water resistance, and it's tough as nails, that German engineering. I really love that about it. Don't let the words beast and it's a tank scare you away if you've watched other reviews, because it's a very sophisticated timepiece. And I don't know whether I mentioned it, but it does have a very serviceable Sellita SW200-1 movement in it, which has been modified. I think it has a custom rotor on it, completely taken apart, and it's got what's called the woodpecker regulation system on it, so that it's easy to regulate. Right now the watch is running 3 to 4 seconds fast a day, which is just terrific. It's a great watch, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Well worth the money I spent. I'm going to have this one for a very long time. I hope this review was helpful to you. Thank you very much for watching. Maybe I'll have another review in the future.